Yeah.
Nice to meet you. My name is Fu.
Nice to meet you, Fu.
Awesome.
Officially.
Yeah, officially.
Yeah. Jeff was our connector. He started coming to our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, and immediately he gave me your contact information, said it would be a perfect fit.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the first time I had met him, I gave him a Rubik's Cube. So then that's it's pretty cool how everything gets connected.
Yeah,
cool.
Totally. So and then I saw a Cube Together is the thing that, if I'm not mistaken, you started.
Yes.
That's awesome. Give me a little information about that.
Okay, so I actually started Rubik's Cubing a little over 5 years ago. My nephew brought a Rubik's Cube over to my parents' house, and he had solved it in front of me, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't believe that he could do that, so I asked him to solve it again, and he did it a second time. I was so intrigued and so impressed that he did that, that 11 o'clock at night that day, I went to Walmart and bought a Rubik's Cube so that I can learn, so that the next time he comes over and we see each other, I can say, hey, I learned how to solve it. So that's what really kick-started like everything. It was my nephew who had a Rubik's Cube, solved it, and I wanted to do exactly what he did. So I guess my personality is very competitive. I wanted to be able to solve it just as well as he did. And from there, I have not stopped solving a Rubik's Cube since. So it's been 5 years that I've just been involved with cubes. I enjoyed it so much that I thought everyone else should enjoy it as well. So when I would get invited to like birthday parties or just any type of gathering, I would just have these extra cubes that I would buy from Walmart. It was a Rubik's Cube brand ones. So, they cost about $8 to $10.
Yeah.
I would just give them out to people and say, hey, dude, if I can solve it, you can solve it too. And then I was doing that so often, I figured I should buy the Rubik's Cubes in bulk so that they would be just more affordable for me to give out. And then I just had this idea to buy the Rubik's Cubes in massive bulk and give them out to people. And that's where like kind of the nonprofit started, where I wanted to get people interested in cubing, and I didn't want them to have an excuse not to cube. So if I gave them a Rubik's Cube, it's in their hand. I gave them a couple of instructions on how to solve the first couple of steps. After that, they're going to have their they're going to have the ones that take the time to learn how to solve it and be committed to solving stuff. So that's really how it all kickstarted. My wanting everyone else to kind of solve a Rubik's Cube, because it's really fun. It's really awesome to solve.
So the organization is based around like just helping people through solving cubes, or at least learning.
Yeah, at least learning. So, I mean, I always think like someone doesn't walk down the aisles of Target and say, hey, where's that Rubik's Cube I was always thinking about getting and stuff.
Yeah.
No one ever just wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to solve a Rubik's Cube today, because the general population thinks it's really impossible. They make excuses. They say, oh, I don't have time. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good at math. So many different excuses. So I wanted to take those excuses out of the equation, have the Rubik's Cube in front of them and have them kind of, analyze the cube a little bit. How I usually start is, how many sides does this Rubik's Cube have? And sometimes they say 8 sides, and I'm like, nope, try again. They say 6 sides. Yep, 6 sides. And how many different colors are there? And they'll say 6 different colors. So it's really cool when you kind of break down the hardest concepts into very manageable chunks. And it gets a lot of people more motivated to learn when they know it's not just this massive cube of colors, but when they can kind of break everything down to the smallest aspects of what shape is it? How many different colors are there? What are the different type of colors? What's this piece in the middle called? It's called a sensor piece. What is this piece called? When they have that confidence, they can start kind of learning the solving method. But it's really good when someone just knows the general fundamentals of the Rubik's Cube, and then it gives them a lot of confidence. So want to learn the next steps of it. It's not impossible, is what I try to get people to learn.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it is. It does look like a daunting task to everybody, especially when they see it for the first time and they're like, especially when they see somebody solving it, because
Yeah,
that in and of itself is just like, oh yeah, I could never do that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, there's a lot of things like that for me where I look at something and I'm like, my goodness, that's like I could never do that. But when you're in that situation and you're actually able to like sit down and take the time,
Mhm.
you'll see that you can actually do a lot more than you actually think you can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My favorite part is I can provide people the tools. I can provide them with the actual cube. I can provide them with a couple of information about the cube. I can provide them with my YouTube video. They can go home and watch the video. The coolest part about it is that for them to end up solving it, they're the ones that are going to have to pick up the cube. They're the ones that are going to have to practice. They're the ones that are going to have to do it consistently. They just can't practice it one day, take a whole year off and visit it again. I've noticed a lot of people when they actually do want to solve it, they are very committed to it. And not everyone is committed to it. That's totally fine. But the ones that end up solving it, they're the ones that say, let me pick it up again. Let me give it another try. It's getting easier the more I work with it. And I think that's true with everything. Jiu-jitsu, I think. I'm 2.5 years into it. I still don't know much, but if I go to class every day and learn those techniques and practice them over and over again, it's not as hard as I thought it was. Same as the cube. So I really do think the best part is that it's within themselves. I can't sit next to them and say, hey, you have to pick up the cube and you have to learn today the next step. It's it's whatever they want to do, and the people that end up solving it, they've committed to it, and I think it makes them feel really good about themselves when they get their first solve in.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
Yeah, I feel like for the beginner, the thrill is the resolution, the solve. But once you get better at it, I believe that like just the process of just working it out is just as fun.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. They're so the cube is so awesome because let's say you're a total beginner, total hobbyist that you just want to solve it maybe once a day. That's totally cool. You can use the exact same method that you've learned for the couple of weeks and continue to solve it that same way. But let's say you want to get faster. Let's say you want to beat your 2-minute record. You're going to have to learn other techniques or other tips and tricks to get faster and more efficient at it too. And let's say you want to be under 10-second solver. There's no way you can maintain or keep using that original method. There are other methods you have to learn and implement to get to that level. And there's always actually there's no limit, there's no ceiling to the Rubik's cube, which is like I've learned over the last 5 years that I'm learning something new every single day. Even when I'm teaching someone or that I'm just doing my casual solves, I'm learning to be more efficient with it. And there really is no limit to the cube. But right now we're talking about the 3x3, and I just want to show you like my favorite one so far. It's a 13x13, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to say this is hard, this one's going to be astronomically harder.
Yeah.
But it's cool that if someone wants to just learn the 3x3 and be a hobbyist at it and solve it a few times a day and solve it at a party for the party trick or solve it for their friends or show their kids that they can solve it, I think that's great. I think that's amazing. But I do like the people that like kind of move on to bigger ones too, because it's so fun. It's so rewarding as well. Yeah, cubing. It's amazing.
That's super cool. And then you get like all like the other ones where they're like not even perfect squares. Like the really weird ones where it's just shapes, like it's all one color, but it's just the shapes shifting around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just really cool how like there's a whole world around just the solving of these revolving puzzles. They're not necessarily like puzzles on a table, but it's something that's like a bit more like 3-dimensional brain activating. And I just think that's super cool. And yeah, I think it is, as you said, like it's something that is totally worth trying because it's almost like a milestone that like everybody knows about. Like everybody knows what the Rubik's Cube is. And like so many people have just admitted the fact, yeah, I'll never solve one. But like what you're saying, when you give it to them, when you give them part A and part B and just say, put it together, just give it a little bit of time. It's so
Mhm.
rewarding for not only you to watch them experience it, but them just to solve it themselves. And I just think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It's um, the biggest one is they always say I'm not smart enough, or I'm not patient enough, or I'm not good at math. Which all of that, you're if you've sit in LA traffic before, you have patience. If you sit at a long line at a bank, that's patience. If you've had a kid or raised a kid, that's complete patience. So I don't use that as an excuse at all. I just think that there's a lot of self doubt, even when it comes to something like this, where when someone says immediately, "Oh, I can't do that. I used to be able to do one side, but I've gotten older and I don't think I can do that anymore." And I say, "Well, hold on." I reach into my backpack. I'm like, "Here we go. Today's the start of the day of your new Rubik's Cube journey stuff." So it really is cool seeing the people that have a lot of doubt at the beginning, but then a week or 2 weeks later, I get a text message saying, "I got my first solve." And a week later, "Hey, I got my best time." And then it's kind of like they're stuck in this world now where they even talk to their friends about it too. It's like, "Oh, dude, I was able to solve my first Rubik's Cube this weekend." "Oh, really? That's awesome. Um, Email this guy; he'll send you a free Rubik's Cube." And it kind of just grows from there. I do appreciate the community, and I do want to grow the community as well too. It's my way of like giving back, because I've had so much positive things happen with the Rubik's Cube that um, giving back to the community and not asking for anything back, I think is really important too, which is one of the reasons why I started the nonprofit. Really is to give back and to grow a community, which I believe strongly in. Even kids that are 5 years old can benefit, all the way up to 55-year-olds can benefit from the Rubik's Cube. Even if you can solve one side or just identify, certain colors, I think that's great. You didn't have any knowledge about it at all, but if you learn something from it, or gain something from it, I think it's completely worth it.
Absolutely. And that's true with many, if not all areas of life. Um, you're talking about a community. Like what is this community, and like who does it entail? Is it like more or less the hobbyists, the people that just enjoy it? And like where can you find this community?
Oh, so I'd say the biggest community is the speed solving community.
Mhm.
Those are the kids and teenagers and some adults that compete at Rubik's Cube speed cubing competitions. Unfortunately, with COVID last year and a half,
Mhm.
those competitions have dwindled down. But prior to that, you'd have hundreds of kids going out there and competing at competitions to see who can do it the fastest. I think the coolest part is when I've been to 9 competitions and I am one of the older ones there. I'd say the average age is between 9 to maybe 14 years old. Me, I'm already in my mid 30s and stuff, and me showing up, I feel really old, which is totally fine too. I'm there for a good time. I'm there to support the community.
Mhm.
But the coolest part is I'll see, dozens of kids just sitting around a table and talking about the cube and exchanging tips and tricks on how to be really good at it. And the kids, there's male and female kids, different backgrounds. There's there's really no. I'd say the community is people that are just passionate about the cube, but there's no gender, there's no race, there's no sexuality, there's nothing involved with that. It purely is a cube which is just so recognizable and anyone can do it, and that's what I really like about it too. Um, they even have Rubik's cubes that are for like blind people too. So there's sectors of the population where the cube can really benefit from. It's not just for the people that are really good at math or science. It really is um, a tool for everyone,
Mhm.
and I see that a lot at competitions as well.
That's super cool. Where can you like find these competitions?
So as I'm talking to you right now, I'm telling you everything that was happening prior to COVID. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
these competitions would happen at like the campus of UCLA or campus or college campuses or elementary schools, high schools. There's a website called World Cubing Association. They have a list of the worldwide competitions and stuff. So you kind of just put in your zip code and you'll see what competitions you're close by. The cool thing about the WCA or World Cubing Association they're like the governing body of all world records. So the world record right now is 3.47 seconds. It's a verified world record because it was held at a World Cubing Association competition. So technically anyone can go to a competition and you can get the world record. So which is kind of cool. It's really hard, but it's really cool seeing the people that they're solving it in 4 seconds, and you're really hoping to see a world record in front of you because that's going to be pretty amazing to see.
Yeah, that's super cool. And how you're talking about like the mathematics side and all these benefits and things. Like very recently, it's been pretty popular of people like creating murals or like the murals with like hundreds of cubes. I think that's great. And then they'll just like scrap it and just like create a whole new one.
Yeah, there's I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but there's probably about 10 mosaic Rubik's Cube builders. So they make those large portraits of people or large kind of painting type things. I was thinking about doing that, but there's so many people out there that are really good at doing it and stuff. So I didn't want to give that a try because I'd have to invest so much time and effort into it. But it is very cool having people out there like that because those mosaics are putting Rubik's Cube out in the mainstream because like for example, when Kobe Bryant died, a couple of years ago, there was a Rubik's Cube solver who was a really big Kobe fan, and he made 1,000 Rubik's Cube mosaic of Kobe Bryant, and it was kind of featured on ESPN, CNN, and all that. And that's putting Rubik's Cube out in the forefront in a really positive light. And I think any type of publicity for Rubik's Cubing and the community is just great.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when there's not necessarily like mass media coverage at these events and stuff like that. It's pretty specialized, like niche wise, to the point where it's easy to look up, like especially when you're saying like the world website thing. Like they're very easy to look up, but not necessarily everybody knows to look for it.
Yeah, totally. That's why I tend to always bring Rubik's Cubes out with me. If I, let's say, go to a bar or a restaurant, I'll have my Rubik's Cube out on the table. And it's really cool when you have people have genuine interest. And when I say genuine interest, that means, oh, cool, you can solve one of those. I used to be able to solve one as a kid, but not anymore. If I can strike up those type of conversations where people they have a genuine interest in what the cube is and why even have it out, I think that's awesome. It's awesome to see Rubik's Cubes out in public. I'm a substitute teacher, and it's cool seeing some of the students have their own cubes in class. And I'm like, hey, I'm a cuber too. And then we'll have a cool little competition or, we'll just talk a little bit about it and stuff. But I think now over the last couple of years or a couple of years in the future, I think we're going to see Rubik's Cubing more in the mainstream, a little bit more in the mainstream. You'll see a lot of movies. They'll have like Rubik's Cubes like on a desk in the background somewhere, and I like seeing that. I like seeing that kind of stuff. Or if you ever seen Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, there's a really famous scene where he's sitting in the back of a cab solving a Rubik's Cube. Yeah. So when we see those like on movies and TV shows, it does bring excitement to the community because it's, hey, did you see that Rubik's Cube in the background? I can solve a Rubik's Cube too. Let me show you. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's like one of those things where the community is big, but not necessarily noticed. So like once they get that little in, then they're like, hey, that's us.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's with a lot of hobbyists. Like,
oh yeah, totally.
I would never know anyone's into jiu-jitsu unless I saw a shirt that they're wearing. If they say champions BJJ, I'm like, oh, dude, you do jiu-jitsu as well? You'll never know. You can't ever tell. Yeah. I can't walk down the street and say, oh, that person's definitely a cuber. I don't know that unless they're wearing a shirt or they have one of these like as a keychain, like hanging from their pocket or something.
Do you like confront anybody that like is like just believes that it wouldn't be fun? Like they don't think that they like, regardless of any other excuses, they just say, I just don't think I'd enjoy it. Like, is there like a rebuttal to that?
You know what? I've run into a few people like that. And if they're not genuinely interested in it, I can't force them.
Yeah, obviously.
I've I've taught people the first few steps to get the first layer. They'll get the first layer and then they'll get the second layer, but there's no follow up after that. I just know they're not interested, and that's completely fine too. I would never force anyone or make anyone feel like, you know, bad about not solving the Rubik's Cube. Mm-hmm. In the least, if they have a Rubik's Cube that I donated to them, I really hope that they donated to someone else who actually would have a genuine interest in it. But as far as rebuttals go, if they gave up on the Rubik's Cube, there's completely out of my hands.
Yeah,
out of my hands.
Totally.
It's a shame too. I want to be at 100% success rate for solving the Rubik's Cube, but unfortunately I'm not. There's just people that are just not into it. Some people, I can't force someone to be into crossword puzzles. I don't like crossword puzzles at all. So I used to be into Sudoku. I gave that up too. You know, some things are just not, it doesn't fit someone's personality, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. Just being able to if you enjoy it, then you try it out at least.
Exactly.
I have a neighbor who's over 50 years old, and once I talked to him about this whole thing, he was like, I would love to learn how to do the Rubik's Cube. So I'm going to go over there and we're going to train, and I'm just going to show him how to do it. And he just says, he's like, all my life, I thought that was so cool. And he's like, and I've never like sat down and done it. And I was just like, we'll do it. And I was like, that it's so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Totally. When I have people that are kind of getting new into it and I know that they don't have a lot of patience, I'll try to knock out the teaching really fast, like in a day and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's when I'll spend a lot of time with them, making sure they know every single step. Because sometimes if it takes too long, someone or people will give up on it. Mm-hmm. You know, if they don't see any type of progress. But it's cool that your neighbor, check it off the bucket list. So cool.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And it's something so simple. Yeah. And yet not enough people like actively say that bucket list thing. Like not enough people do that.
Yeah. So cubing it's such a economical hobby. It's like this one cube cost me like $2.30, and I can give it to someone and not worry about it. They can take that cube and stick it in their backpack, and they'll just have the cube. It's very portable. It's such a cheap hobby. Yeah. And you can practice it anywhere. You can practice it at an airport, on an airplane, on train, passenger of a car, if you're waiting in line at a bank. You know, it's so cool. I like it because with kids, they're not like on the cell phone playing playing video games on the cell phone, or they're just scrolling on Instagram. If they have two hands on this, they don't have two hands on the phone, which I think is my favorite part about it too.
Yeah, totally. I blanked on what I was gonna say, but yeah, like what you're saying with just two hands and just being focused, because like a lot of things that we're straying away from as an era is just staying focused. Yeah. And yeah, just giving that little bit of some of the most fun that I have with it is when something's going on in the background and I'm just kind of just doing it on the side. Totally. Like you like it's not something that you have to seclude yourself from the world and just like ultimate focus on it. And I think that's what like maybe scares some people, is thinking that like it's going to take so much effort, when in reality, like once you get the steps down, it can almost be like just subconscious at a point. And you can just do it more for enjoyment and just kind of just like as a side thing, not necessarily as a full focus dive type of thing.
Yeah. The people that do get hyper focused in it are the competitive speed cube solvers and stuff. Yeah. I'm not sure if you know a guy named Max Park. He's super, super, super high into the like the world, one of the previous world record holders, but he'll spend hours and hours and hours knocking out these solves, and he'll probably do like 500 solves a day. That's how hyper focused it is. On the other spectrum of that, someone can solve this at least once a week, just one time, and that's totally cool too. You can, whatever you want to do with it, choose your own adventure with the cube. So me, I like collecting different type of puzzles, twisty puzzles. I'm at about 240 different types of puzzles. I just like the collecting part, but as far as the solving part, I probably train about 30 minutes a day. on average. But when it comes to this, I'll spend like 3 days trying to solve this one.
Wow.
So yeah, it's cool.
And the accomplishment on that one is just feels so much more invigorating, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've only solved this one time, and I'm probably only going to solve it one time. But that one time is like enough for me.
Yeah.
But I do like collecting because the people that are interested in the cube in the 3x3, they'll move on to the 4x4 or 5x5. I like to show people that there are different types of Rubik's Cube type of puzzles and stuff. Like here's one of the what's this? Can you see that?
Yeah.
This is the smallest mass-produced Rubik's Cube. It's 1 centimeter.
Wow.
And it's completely solvable too. You just you can move it, do whatever. Right.
Yeah.
On the other side of this, so I said this is 1 centimeter.
Uh-huh.
This is the world's largest mass-produced Rubik's Cube. This is 30 centimeters. So this is like 30 times as big as this small one right here.
And still solvable.
Still solvable. But it's so cool because when you take it out and show people, you can see like the glimmer of their eyes just get wide open. It's like they can solve this one, and I'm like, here, solve this one. And then they have a bigger accomplishment. It's so weird that the bigger size the cube gets, it's like the happier they get when they solve it. It's bizarre.
And I'm sure that there's still elevated like enjoyment even just in the tiny one.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. And yeah, I like it because sometimes people are interested in, the cubing world and what the other twisty puzzles are. So that's why I built my collection, because now I can have every single type of puzzle to donate out to if anyone wants it. So
that's super cool.
Yeah.
And like what you said about like how it costs like $2.30 for like that one. Like from a business standpoint, that's such a cheap way to buy it. Like that's such a cheap price to buy a customer or somebody into your community. Like if the community just expounds one person at a time for like an extra $2, like that's pretty awesome. Like there's very few communities that you could do that, where you could pretty much gather people from across the world, every ethnicity, every race, for such a cheap price and only minimal amount of time, and yet so much accomplishment. I would say it's like one of the very rare ones where it's like ton of accomplishment because it's in the world. It's something that you can recognize on somebody's desk, but every time you see it, you think of it as like, oh, that's cool, but you more look at it as like an obstacle or like something that you've shied away from. But the moment that you can solve it, like if, like you said, like you see it in the background in a movie, you're like, hey, I can solve it.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. Even like me as an adult, like when I like I said, do substitute teaching. When I see people sitting on the ground with their friends Rubik's cubing, it's like so cool because that community is you'll never know unless you see someone actually solving stuff. And it really is cool being able to see its growth over the last decade. In the 80s, it got really popular, and then it got not popular. Now it's starting to get popular again because of YouTube, and people can now just learn how to solve it by watching other people solve it. And I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a Rubik's Cube movie coming out. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be amazing, but there is a movie out there, so Rubik's Cube will be in the mainstream. I'm a little afraid though, because it just might be like a really terrible movie, and it just might turn a lot of people off. That's what I'm afraid of. I've worked so hard getting all these cubes out to people and stuff. But I just don't want it to be like, I don't want it to be cringy.
But if it's bad enough, then it'll get tons of publicity.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in any publicity is like good publicity. So,
so like you mentioned it slightly, like with the YouTube thing. Is there any other reason why you think that it's going to be really big in the next few years? Like the young generation, you said, is like the ones going to these competitions. You think the growth of that young generation that's like into speed cubing, do you think they're going to be kind of like the elders kind of paving the way for the new generation?
I think so because recently, probably about a year and a half ago, Netflix released their documentary called The Speed Cubers. they put speed cubing in the forefront of the documentary on Netflix. That means a lot of people, a lot of attention, a lot of people watching it. That's great. Red Bull puts on these Rubik's Cube solving competitions, and you know how Red Bull does it. Red Bull will put a lot of money, a lot of effort into these big extravagant events, and which is great. So I think, and with YouTube and a lot of YouTube personalities out there, I think it's progressively going to be very beneficial for the cubing community. And like we said earlier about the mosaic artists, we're starting to see how like all the different ways Rubik's cubes can just be kind of sprinkled inside of of the general public, and it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what different, like, if an astronaut goes to space and brings a Rubik's cube, I'll be very excited. I'll be extremely excited because I know that's going to make news. It's going to be like the highest altitude Rubik's cube solved, and I'll be like, hey, that's pretty cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And then like lubricated it enough so that when you like hit it, then it just continues to spin forever.
Exactly. Yep. That's perfect. Yep.
That would be great. But yeah, like the one thing that I was really impressed about with the mosaic stuff was the moment that I saw that, I was immediately, the first thing that I thought about, because I'm very artistic. I love like seeing all those kind of like mosaic things built out of other things. But the thing that impressed me the most, like right off the bat, was how did they get that many Rubik's cubes? I was like, they must have bought them in bulk or something. But I personally was just impressed that somebody had that big of a collection. And then the more that I actually did more research and stuff, I found a lot of people not necessarily collecting one cube like hundreds of times, but like all these different kinds of cubes. And I saw people's bookshelves covered in cubes and like stuff like that. And I thought it was really neat. And that there's actually like people out there who actively search for the different styles, the different types, and stuff like that. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. So the cool thing about these, anytime a puzzle twists, it's called a twisty puzzle. So it might not be necessarily a cube shape. It can be like a rectangle or a circle or a sphere. As long as it twists, it's called a twisty puzzle. Twisty puzzles get manufactured, and sometimes they get discontinued, or they don't manufacture anymore, and they just become rare. So that's why I like searching for those kind of rare cubes. Sometimes they get very expensive though. Sometimes there's certain types of cubes that are twisty puzzles that I like to collect. But my collection, it's about 230 right now. There's people that have like over 500 or 600 cubes in their collection. I think it's amazing. If I could, I'd get every single cube. I just don't have space for it too. So now I actually have to pick and choose which puzzles like I want to collect and stuff. But I generally like collecting things anyways. So I think collecting twisted puzzles and cubes are really cool for my personality.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing great work for the community, even just by just bringing them around and giving them out and stuff like that. So I think that's great. Where can we see this thing? It's called Cubing Together.
Oh, so my nonprofit, you can go to the website. It's called cubetogether.org. Cubetogether.org. Right there you can check out our mission. You can check out the tutorial. You can donate cubes so that other people can get so other people can benefit. Or you can shoot an email and request a free cube for yourself, or request a free cube for anyone that you know inside the continental United States. And if you want to email me to talk about Rubik's cubes, or if you have any issues with solving a Rubik's cube, I'll always talk. I'm such a nerd when it comes to Rubik's cubes. I will sit with anyone for hours and hours if they want, and then we can finish solving that Rubik's cube. But yeah, check out cubetogether.org. That's my nonprofit. So.
Awesome. Thank you very much for it. It was great talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you for this opportunity. It's really cool.
Absolutely. And just continue and just have fun with it. Like, there's no criticism, no nothing here. I'm just super excited. And I've done a couple things to try and get the word out there, because all these passions that I'm trying to like look into, Rubik's cubing was actually the very first one that I started doing. So this is the first full process that I'm accomplishing of actually like trying to do it, raise awareness about it and stuff like that. And one of the ways that I tried getting people to look out for it was actually I made a couple custom ones.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's beautiful.
I spray painted stripes onto that one. And then this one I took, bear with me. It's aesthetic. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to solve, but I took different metallic paints. So golds, bronze, silvers, black and white. And then a rose gold. And so with these two, I was just I made a video of my process of making them, and then am doing a giveaway with them, and actually was the most successful video that I've had thus far. So it was great to even just barely graze the cubing community, and even a few people joined the giveaway who haven't solved one before, which I thought was awesome as well. So so like simple little things, but it's something that we'll get the word out there and we'll see how it goes.
Awesome, that's great. I'm really excited that you're kind of growing the community as well too in your different ways. It really does make a difference.
Yeah, and my other video, which I am currently editing, I did 24 hours of Rubik's cubing in 3 sittings. So like, and I solved it like, I think it was close to 200 times.
Oh man, that's amazing. That's so cool.
And just something like that, just like when somebody realizes that, and I started from not knowing it at all. So like, I think like once you can kind of just show somebody it's this easy, and there's so much potential for like how much fun you can have, how much enjoyment and achievement that you can attain from solving a simple 3x3.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. That's so cool.
Yep. So hopefully that'll do it. And we'll be what's the name of the movie that's coming out?
Oh, it's in production. I don't know anything else past that. It's in production. That's it. I don't know the name of it. Maybe within the next year, 2 years, but it's going to be a Rubik's Cube movie in the theaters.
Super cool. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. And let's fingers crossed about that.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Fu, so much for joining, and I'll keep you updated.
Cool. Sounds great.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you later.
Yeah.